Hello everyone and welcome, it's Eclectic Kelpie and this is Adult Colored Glasses, the show where I rewatch media from my childhood satirically and sincerely, and today we are going to be watching Sabrina The Animated Series. So I did a little bit of R&D on this today, just because I realized that I didn't know what the timeline of this show is and how it fit into the grander Sabrina lore, because there's so many different Sabrina the Teenage Witch shows now. So a little bit of what I learned on the history of this piece of media and this character is that the original Sabrina character started off in the 1960s around when the Archie comics were coming out. She kind of was like a parallel storyline to the Riverdale escapades, I guess, the shenanigans. And then Sabrina was kind of in the same universe, but in her own story, so it kind of overlapped a little bit, but her character started in the 1960s, and then in 1996, the Sabrina the Teenage Witch sitcom starring Melissa Joan Hart came out, and then Sabrina the Animated Series came out in 1999, and is sort of a prequel to Sabrina the Teenage Witch live-action sitcom. And fun fact, Melissa Joan Hart actually in the animated series voices Hilda, so that's pretty cool as well. And then the Sabrina the Teenage Witch sitcom, I think, ended in 2003, and then the animated series stopped in 2000 on the dot. So I grew up watching both the live-action and the animated series, and then the Netflix dark whatever the hell that ended up being situation with like Sabrina's the Devil's Daughter or some nonsense like that. I watched that eventually also. But Miranda Otto, if you know, you know, I love Lord of the Rings. It's my favorite piece of media, so I loved seeing Miranda Otto again in something. But I mean, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is kind of mid. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, I grew up watching the animated and the live action of Sabrina, but I actually don't know which one is more representative of my childhood. Probably the animated series. I think it was on one of the channels that I had in my rotation, so I think it was just the one that was most accessible to me as a cartoon. It was on the cartoon channels that I was watching, so yeah. But I do remember the sitcom live action show, and that one was also very good. So, but yeah, I'm excited to check this out. It'll be interesting to see how this holds up. So without further ado, let's dive into Sabrina the Animated Series, Episode 1, The Most Dangerous Witch. Man, again with the like nostalgic opening theme songs, because these are always so good. For the most part, they're good. And I think this one is super iconic. But I also think that this might be my favorite Salem, because the live action one, yeah, it was fun, but I feel like in animation you can do so much more than with a puppet. And then obviously in the like most recent Chilling Adventures, it didn't go very well with the cat because I think she was allergic. So they couldn't have the cat around all that much. So there wasn't a lot of Salem in the Chilling Adventures, so I think this one is the best depiction of Salem because it's able to be utilized in such a wide variety of ways and have more interaction with the characters in fun ways, but also it's animated, so there's far less limitations on what you could do with either a real cat or having that puppet. Although, of course, the sitcom one did a very good job with the Salem puppet, but I think that this one is the most versatile because of the medium that it's being presented with, but it works out very well. But oh my gosh, the theme song's so good. This is such a 90s time capsule of fashion because she's got the hair clips, she's got the like sporty-esque but also like a hyper feminine cutesy like outfit, like with the skirt and little crop top. She got the sneakers. Like this is very of its time in terms of fashion, although I think this has been coming back around a little bit, especially crop tops have been really big. But like it's so cute to like see these sorts of things because it's like opening up a time capsule. Like it's very much experiencing that time period through the media that we used to consume. So I think that's really sweet. And this is just so iconic. The whole outfit's so iconic. Oh, and of course, we have to have the skateboards because it was the 90s, early 2000s, so everything had to be extreme. Of course. How could we neglect the extreme skateboards, you know? Actually, that's also so cute. I just learned today that Sabrina started off as comic, so it's kind of cute that, like, their comic book, like, opens up into a portal that we're coming into this Sabrina world into. It's very cute. I liked that a lot. It's a fun little detail that they included into it, being that it is a comic book first. So that's really cute. Really quick though, I didn't look this up, but I think his name is Uncle Quigley. That would have been a really cool throw in there from my brain, just extracted in the moment. If that's his name, it'll obviously tell me later in the episode. But where did he go? If this is supposed to be a prequel, I have no recollection, because it's just her two aunts in the live action one. So where did he go? Why was he included in this one if he doesn't have a precedent within the history of this piece of media? Intriguing. Inquiring minds will want to know. Iconic. I love it. Such a good theme song. One day I'll do a tier list of all of the iconic theme songs of all of the adult colored glasses pieces of media that we've watched thus far. Because, oh man, there's a lot of A tier. There's some S tier, and there is distinctly one, probably D tier. So one day, because that would be really fun. But yeah, super iconic. Love it. Are they supposed to be like hundreds of years old? This is 100% Hilda and Zelda. Is that a thing? Or is it just like, oh, our ancestors are always gonna look like this? And that tells you, like, in animation format, it tells you that they are related. But that's kind of crazy. Already, though, I love the animation. It's so fun, because it kind of feels a little bit, like, off, if you know what I mean. It kind of feels tilted a little and, like, off-center. It's just giving, like, even if, like, okay, look at the windows back here. These are not even. Like, it feels very off. And it's kind of adding to this essence of being in sort of like this witchy, like a little bit spooky, a little bit, you know, obviously it's for kids, so it's not aggressive or done it, like, it's still very light colors. It's not being meant to be actually scary, but it's kind of just like, it's adding a little bit of like spooky, it's unnatural world kind of vibes, and I think that's really sweet, and I like it a lot. Oh yeah, 100%. They are like hundreds of years old. Wow, I didn't know that. Crazy. Makes sense though. Such a beautiful, iconic house. So good. Love it. Hilda and Zelda's outfits also are so... It's almost giving a little bit Spice Girls, I'm not gonna lie. You know, like, it's kind of giving... like posh, sporty, and then Sabrina's kind of giving baby, if that makes sense. It's just a little bit Spice Girls-y. I like it. This is 100% a Scottish play reference, and I think that's so fun. I love that. That's the original Bubble Bubble Toil and Trouble. Very Shakespeare, very classic. We love to see it. This is, I think, one of the best kind of ways to do an urban modern fantasy is combining magic and stuff from, it was what, the like 1600s was the time frame that they were working within, and like how old these two are, which is just insane. It's unfathomable to them. Well, it's fathomable obviously, but like they have the knowledge and magic from the 1600s, but then they're using a microwave as the cauldron, which is just really cute because obviously that's the new age cooking vessel or utensil, if you want, like a appliance, if you will. So it's just really fun, the integration of that new technology, the new power. Science and magic are one and the same essentially, but also having still the fantastical magic, regular powers. They're still doing like potions and spell work and all that stuff. So I love that well integrated fantasy components while also being modern day fantasy, because I find that to be very difficult to do and to balance. I prefer a true fantasy, like a true high fantasy, over modern fantasy or urban fantasy, but when it's done well, and I think so far, I mean, we're very early in the episode, but so far I think it's been really interesting and well done and fun to have those components of here's our historical precedent for this magic, and then also here's a microwave cauldron because it makes sense and it works, and I think that's really well done. Oh yeah, his name is Uncle Quigley, confirmed. That is a crazy pull from the memory, I'll tell you what. But yeah, where did he go? Why wasn't he ever referenced? Not to my knowledge, at least. He was never referenced in the live action one. Spooky. Disappeared. I feel like this stereotypical character or caricature has not evolved too far from what we see now, just under 30 years later. Feels still relevant, this type of man. His little belt thing! It's like 3 fanny packs in one. It's so bad. You know, if you have spent hundreds of years dealing with the same rumination pattern that continually produces you to behave in ways of harmful natures to others, might I recommend therapy? May I propose to you working through your shit? Might I suggest getting over yourself and learning that, you know, it sucks to be bullied in elementary school or high school. Yes, we all get it. It's almost a universal experience. People can be mean. But at some point in the hundreds of years of your life, might I propose growth? Might I propose personal developments? Might I suggest, might I humbly present for consideration therapy? That's just one person's opinion, you know. Carry on. Although there really has to be something said for somebody who can hold a grudge for that long, because that is a marathon, not a sprint. You have to constantly hold on to that anger. And after hundreds of years, like, you have to be purposefully re-traumatizing and re-triggering yourself over on a loop to be able to hold a grudge like that. Because if you think about it, little Timmy in grade 2 pushed you over and took your gushers at recess. Are you still mad about it at like 50 years old? Maybe you're not 50 yet. I'm certainly not 50 yet. But like, you have to think about it, right? Like, are you still gonna be concerned? Because I feel like that's the equivalent here. Is this man is hundreds of years, not this man obviously, but the Aardvark kid is hundreds of years old and is still upset that a singular group of his peers at the time of his youth was mean to him. And now, hundreds of years later, he's still upset about, like, that is commitment. That is a commitment. So, I suppose, well done, but go to therapy, okay? He chose to be this kind of loser. That was a choice. Sidebar. Hilda and Zelda are either equal to this guy's age, the witch smeller's age, or like slightly younger. But they're okay, he's combined like technology. Well, actually no, he doesn't have any magical powers. So he just has technology, and they have magic and technology. And there's 3 of them that are witches that could stand against this guy. Why are they so scared? Like, yeah, he has technology, but I feel like evolution, right? Like, at some point, you'd think that these witches collectively or individually would have discovered a solution for this, especially with how many years, hundreds of years, that they have been knowing that this person is crazy. Or like, even some, like, nobody's tried to like have a conversation with him. Nobody's tried to engage in a healthy, productive confrontation, rather than conflict, because conflict is when two people are going into a conversation with the intention to have an argument and have a fight. Confrontation is when two people are going into a conversation when it's something that it might feel like a difficult conversation to have. But confrontation is just to confront, is to engage in dialogue. Conflict is an intent. Conflict is to choose to have an argument. Go and confront. Say, "Excuse me, sir, do you want to not let your fragile male ego disrupt the rest of our civilization? Can we create a space where you do your personal healing and we no longer have to, like, fear your wrath and your, like, killing people, essentially?" Because even if he, like, freezes somebody for all time, like, at what point are they just dead? Right? I don't know. Feels questionable that these, like, three people, even if Sabrina's, sure, she's young, but she's still, like, a capable enough witch, right? Like, she can do magic, she can participate and, like, engage with them in a productive way. So, I don't know. One small, like, unfortunate man versus three capable witches. And it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be conflict. It can just be, hey, I recognize, I can see that you are having a really bad time, that you feel really, disgruntled about how you were treated historically, but can we not do this anymore? Like, it's been multiple hundreds of years. I don't know. Maybe we want to grow up. Maybe we want to become adults. I don't know. Just a suggestion. Generally speaking, though, I think that this is a really fun show in terms of, like, having strong, powerful women. Yeah, of course, they're, like, scared, but now they're gonna go take care of their niece, they're gonna go find her, they're gonna go save her, and be competent and capable individuals. It took a second, but they got there. That's fine. But yeah, I think that this is really fun. It's really, like, positive female lead roles, which is really fun. Love this. Love this background animation. Love the style. Very good. Also, want to just mention really quickly, because we're about the halfway point, the pacing of this show is very good. It starts very quick. We're getting inciting incidents really quick. We're getting the backstory very quickly, and then we're getting into the problem, the escalating actions and stuff, like whatever the terminology is, can't remember. We're getting into the heart of the story and, like, the point of the episode, which is really fun. Yeah, really fast paced, but not at the expense of the storytelling. It's just fast paced in a natural, like, skipping the fillers sort of thing, where all of the dialogue is purposeful and meant to contribute to getting to the next point of the story. So that's really fun. It's still a fully actualized story, but they just are really going deliberately with the dialogue and the animation in terms of scenes and keeping it really concise, and I like that. So far, very, very engaged. I'm locked in. I'm enjoying it. So also, though, obviously, this guy doesn't have magic. So did he invent a tool and continuously have it on? Well, one, the electric bill would be insane if that was the case. Unless he has, like, solar panels, which would be nice. But who could say? It's this man. He's kind of awful. So, the electric bill would be insane. How did this happen? This man is so dramatic and wants his trauma to be his entire personality that he has this mansion, probably with, like, wealth, inheritance and generational wealth, but he purposefully has this cloud that shoots lightning over his house so that he's constantly in this state of being dramatic. And how does, like, it, you have to do the suspension of disbelief for sure, because it's just so absurd to think that, like, in this world, magic is not widely known or accepted. It is, witches are people that just exist in this society, and they have their identities hidden, and they just are like any other group of people, but just the general population doesn't know they exist. How is this explained? How are his neighbors at the bottom of the hill? Because this would be concerning, right? Like, I would be concerned. Property taxes must be insane around this house with so much lightning going on, because could you imagine? Fire hazard, property damage. It's not a very, actually maybe it would be kind of cheap to live here, because that would definitely not be desirable. I don't know. Could go either way. The point is, though, that this is extremely dramatic. And I'm here for it, though. I'm here for it. I like it. I like the drama. You know, be ostentatious and outrageous. Pop off. But, like, also maybe a little bit of a questionable choice. Just a skosh of a questionable choice. Bro decapitated. Bro's a serial killer. Obviously, they're talking heads. This is magic, but let's, for a second... Bro decapitated women and then put their heads like taxidermy trophies and hung them in a room that is meant to be his prizes from his serial killer days. He's still doing it. That is insane to think about out of the context of this fantastical, like, animated show that the witches are still talking. Obviously, like, this, they're not like dead, but they're like, you know, like, this is Bro decapitated these women and then put their heads on a wall via deer or elk style of hunting trophy. That's so fucked up. That's really fucked up. Wow. Kids shows are not the same anymore. Kids shows used to be something else entirely. 'Cause that's super fucking dark. This is crazy. This is very unhinged behavior. Go to therapy. If this is where you're at, go to therapy. That's crazy. And, you know, she's lashing out. She's having a bad day. But, I mean, very, very valid. At this point, yeah, she's getting a little bit spicy with Sabrina. She's kind of getting a little bit, like, you know, not kind words. But, like, she's been stuck there for hundreds of years, mounted on a wall, and she's been decapitated. Like, what do you... That is crazy. He doesn't even dust them or take care of them. Look at her, she has a fucking spider web coming out of her face. And they're sentient, like, they still have consciousness. This is horror. This is speechless. Unhinged. She's 12. Leave her alone. Oh my god. Galinda? Is that you? Good Witch of the North? Oh, to have the arrogance and confidence of that kind of man. So easily manipulated when it comes to expressions of pride, because she literally was like, I came to you and so you didn't catch me and you're not actually as good as you think you are, so, and he's like, wanna bet? And lets her go. Like, obviously we want Sabrina to be successful in her endeavors, but, like, it's the insecurities, right? Go to therapy. This man is just awful. Okay, I actually love this guy, though, because he was very much like earlier in the episode when Hilda and Zelda were gonna go and run off and find Sabrina and save her. He was like, guys, it's not about witches or mortals. It's about family versus this creepy guy who chops off people's heads and mounts them on walls. And, like, yeah, because it is about family. And I love that. Be like Uncle Quigley. Priorities. Priorities understood. Also, having very healthy securities with his identity, not worrying that he's immortal and that he's operating in a world of witches. He's very much like, I might not be magical, but I still care about the people that I care about, and I'm going to go and make an effort to support them in what's going on right now. And also, he's not going to feel bad about himself for not having magic, even though they're like, it's like, don't worry about this, we got this, we're the witches. He's like, that's okay, you can go off and be strong, powerful women and be the witches, but I'm also going to go and help in the best way that I can. We love a secure and competent man. Thank you, Uncle Quigley. Fantastic role model. This is so very stereotypical 90s, early 2000s, like, girl, because not everyone is obsessed with them all. It was like, one, we don't support capitalism. Two, we don't support stereotyping girls as just being like empty-headed like consumers of fast fashion. Do better. They did do better. We've gone past the like, oh my god, shopping. Well, we've mostly gone past the oh my god, shopping and the like. I mean, malls are kind of obsolete now. Everybody just uses fucking online delivery services. So what even is a mall anymore? Has this ever happened or worked in real life? I would love to see this. Because if you don't move your feet, then you can't trip on these spherical gumballs. Two, unless they are like the most stale, rock hard piece of bubblegum that you have ever experienced in your entire life, how would they not just like squish under your feet? Maybe not him. He's like a child size. But, like, or even a child size, though, like, how would they not just, like, squish under your feet? There's not that many of them. And also just don't move until they've stopped moving. Or, like, don't lift your feet up. Like, this is the most unrealistic component of this whole thing. This is the easiest sabotage tactic that you can avoid. Like, just don't move your feet yet. Just give it a beat. And then proceed with caution. Crazy. Oh, and even he's extreme. He's got a skateboard too now. It always had to be X Games. Extreme. X Sports. Crazy. I love that. I love that and I hate that also. Because, like, why is he saving the three of them? Like, crazy. But also, I love that. We love prioritizing family. We love strong, secure men who can actually be competent and feel good about themselves and also, like, not take away from anybody else being able to maximize their, like, power and independence, but also being, like, a support system as well, just because that's being a good person. We love to see people being good people. Good job, Uncle Quigley, for the save. But this one is like a catch-22 because I would have loved to have seen the three women be able to take care of this themselves. But I also think that the point of this is to have that foil, right? Because the witch smeller is like this really insecure, he's let his lack of magical powers define him. He's internalized so heavily the external commentary from childhood that he's like less than, and so he's trying to overcompensate for these people that were mean to him when he was a kid, and all of these different things. Like, it's the insecurity versus Uncle Quigley, who's like really secure and competent and, you know, able to find his own power within his scope, which is fantastic to see because that's the point, right? Is not everybody is going to be good at everything. Oh my god, literally the cartoon. Not everybody's good at everything, but everybody's good at something. Oh my god, if you know the reference, you know, and it's so good. I was about to do the here's the T-Rex. Okay, anyways. I'm gonna digress. Yeah, so it's very much giving the foil. It's the here's the two sides of the same coin within these two characters. Is here's what will happen if you hold on to that narrative of lacking magic means that you are less than, and internalizing that mentality of less than, and then having to overcompensate to try and get external validation from the people who are trying to make you feel bad about yourself, even though it was literally hundreds of years ago and you really got to get over that shit because it's really not that deep anymore, versus somebody who is also treated with a level of, it's okay, you sit down, you don't have magic, so don't worry about it, we'll take care of it because we obviously have more powers than you, etc., whatever. But then still doesn't, like, he has his own self-image concept that is not reflective of the commentary of other people who are trying to assert a class, I guess, if you want to consider, like, witches being more powerful as being, like, more than, and so then to assert that you're mortal is to assert that you're less than. And he doesn't internalize this. And he ends up being a very, like, secure and healthy and capable, competent, wonderful character who is able to operate within the limitations of not having magic. And even without very, like, crazy technology, because this is just a fishing rod, whereas obviously the witch smeller guy, he had, like, crazy futuristic technology to try and accomplish his goals, and Quigley's just picked him up with a fishing rod, which is great. But yeah, I like the construct of this episode in terms of having that dichotomy and seeing it's a choice. It's always going to be a choice. You can internalize what has been asserted about you and have an external sense of identity, or you can reject that assertion from external sources and have an internal sense of identity that comes from your own self-actualization, self-esteem, that you are having a stronger sense of self-efficacy that comes from your own self-concept and your own creation of self-identity. So it's a really beautiful dichotomy. It's actually quite deep as well if you think about it really in depth like that for this kind of episode. So I think that's a great message, and I love to see it. I also would have loved to have seen a little bit more in terms of the independence of the three women, but I also understand that the point of the episode is human versus witch, but also family versus somebody who's trying to attack your family. So the purpose of the episode, this is the perfect way to engage with that material. Yeah. Good job, Sabrina, the Animated Series. And they did a little heavy-handed just now in terms of the explanation of it, literally what I just said. And Quigley is also additionally presenting the notion that every individual is an individual, and just because one person from a particular group does not represent an entire group as a whole. So it's kind of anti-racist messaging. It's kind of like anti-bigotry messaging also, which is really cool to see. Wow, this is such a complex, beautiful... If you look into it deeper than just... Actually, it's really... You don't even really have to look that deeply into it. It's quite on the nose. Like, there's no subtext. Like, he's in the dialogue saying these things. Like, not every person is going to be like the individuals that you dealt with hundreds of years ago. It's super on the nose, and it does really feel like it's reading very, like, anti-bigotry sentiment. Because he's, yeah, not... Wow. Good job, Sabrina the Animated Series. What a beautiful first episode of this show. It's all about self-actualization and not externalizing your self-identity and self-worth. And also, don't be a bigot. Wow. I love that. This is fantastic. A+, man. A+. His literal lines of dialogue. I judge people for what they say and what they do, not their sex or nationality or race. This was so on the nose, but honestly, very applicable for today. Very, very topical and pertinent messaging for our political scope of 2026. If the 90s knew it then, we should be able to get it now. So, love to see it. Very good. Even Quigley saying, some people never get it. It's 2026 and we still live in a world where people do, obviously, like, taking away the magical components of this, people are still awful and bigoted, and there's so much going on in the world right now that just reinforces that the othering problem, where it's so much about looking at the differences between people rather than just acknowledging that we're all a part of humanity and we all deserve basic human decency, respect, and basic human rights. And yet, some people will never change. And this show came out in 1999, and we still haven't been able to eradicate bigotry. Sometimes it feels a little bit disheartening, but especially because media like this so long ago was able to understand and be presented to children to, like, hey, let's not perpetuate these negative stereotyping or believe that one person represented an entire group, so one bad experience with a person from a particular group, it means that it's then every person in that group is a certain type of way, which is just crazy thinking, because nothing is black and white. One person cannot be indicative of an entire group of people. That would just be crazy to assert that. But it happens, and it's really unfortunate that it happens. So let's all take the messaging from Sabrina the Animated Series and do better a little bit with our lives. Let's all just do a little bit better to not continue to perpetuate harmful stereotypes about a particular group of people just simply because they exist. Let's also go to therapy, let go of our trauma, so that we do not continue to externalize our self-worth concept and our value. And then we don't end up like this guy who did externalize his self-worth and his value, and then he mounted heads on his wall as trophies because he needed to feel validated and have a semblance of power and self-actualization. Go to therapy. Bro killed, like, look at this line. It's still past the screen. There's thousands. Bro mounted thousands of people's head on his walls. That's really unhinged. But I do like also within the messaging Quigley saying, like, be kinder to other people, because kindness, like, lack of kindness perpetuates this cycle of violence, which could be bordering on victim blaming, like, a little bit. It's kind of bordering on victim blaming, but it's also kind of true a little bit, in the sense of, if you don't perpetuate violence, and I mean violence in a very broad term, including, like, harmful verbiage and mental abuse or verbal abuse, or, you know, that kind of stuff, like, not physically oriented violence. And it's kind of like, because if people don't ever learn, it's very nature versus nurture, and it's a much more complex topic than can be had here. But there is, like, a ring of truth to that, is if we don't be awful to people, then they wouldn't develop concepts of awful, especially within, like, adult to child. And it's also the adult's responsibility to teach the children how to manage those kinds of things in a healthy way. So there's a lot of layers to it. But ultimately, just be kind to people, have basic human decency and basic compassion, and then we don't have to contribute to this cycle of violence, because if you don't perpetuate violence and you don't continue to enact violence, then people won't learn that as a response or a reaction. If we all just had a lot more compassion for each other and a lot more kindness, just basic human decency and basic understanding that people are just people, and we're all at where we're at, and we're all on this floating rock in the middle of nowhere in space. Like, I don't know, it could be such a better world if we all put in just, like, a modicum of effort. The lesson of today: be a good person. Perpetuate kindness, not violence. That is karmic justice. That is correct. The correct punishment and the correct outcome for his actions. Now he can chill there for hundreds of years. And that was Sabrina the Animated Series. Well, I tell you what, that was a treat. That was a delight. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Very solid show. Still, I think super, super holds up today. In animation was super fun. In storytelling, so well done. In messaging for children to consume, so well done. Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a 4 out of 5. Honestly, so good, so fun. And yeah, the pacing was really good. It didn't feel like the story was getting compromised by having it be concise and fast-paced. It felt very well articulated, the messaging was there, the plot was there. Yeah, 4 out of 5. Very well done. But that was Sabrina the Animated Series, Episode 1, Most Dangerous Witch. If you enjoyed this episode, consider giving a like and subscribing to continue joining us on all of our adventures. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Everything with love, and we'll see you next time in the Treasure Trove. Bye!